I'm John Altschuler.
I'm Scott Bennett. We've known each other for almost 50 years.
We grew up together on the playground.
And now we're in the foreground and still growing up.
From the playground to the foreground.
Join the conversation. Back on the playground. Hey, John.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have not seen each other for a few weeks. It's been a little bit of a break. And I know you have been busy and I have been busy.
That's right.
So we could talk for a long time what's happened in the last 3 weeks. You know, spring break time. We had daylight savings. Nod to our friend Chad Pinson.
That's right.
We gave him a little play. So Chad, if you're watching, listening, or following, we thought about you. I know there's a few things that have gone on, so I'm going to try to get through a few more topics than regular because there's a lot going on. I know that you took a child to California.
Two children.
Yeah.
The oldest, my youngest daughter, to look at colleges.
Okay. Not the most important thing. We'll talk about that. I want you to think about one thing about that. I have been to Europe to see my child. So I had a week in Europe.
Good.
In our break.
Looks fun.
And perhaps the biggest news, John, very proud of you. You are a civic-minded giant.
Thank you.
And have thrown your hat in the ring to take the Highland Park ISD forward potentially as a trustee and board member. Is that right?
Of the school board. Correct.
School board, yeah. So what's driving that?
I think it's opportunity. I feel like there's a tumultuous time in public education, and I feel like our board is focused on things that are outside of our control. Austin, vouchers, basic allotment, things you just can't control. And I feel like our district is uniquely positioned to take its own agency, to advocate for itself and to address its issues on its own. And I want to see us do that. And
we have a mutual friend who had been serving in the role, right? Jay Ellis, who grew up with us.
Right.
Also with our guest today.
That's right.
Knows Jay. Jay's kind of a man about town.
Yes.
I know I had spoken to Jay separate from you and told me he'd hoped this would happen. So I'm glad to see that you have agreed to do this. I will do anything. And I think I'm really proud of you for taking this on. I mean, having 4 children go through those schools, secretly, I've told many I wanted to do that in RISD. My sisters and I had gone all the way through the schools, and then my own children did.
Right.
But we moved away. That sailed. So I'm going to enjoy watching you from the sidelines, doing what I can to help you.
Appreciate it.
I think our listeners and people that know should follow what you're saying and doing. If I know one thing about you, if you say it, you're going to do it. And I think you will stop at nothing to make the right changes for the district, and excited for you.
I appreciate it.
And tell me quickly about your trip to California. It was cut short, I saw.
Yeah, so we scheduled 3 days in Southern California, 2 in Northern, and we toured through UCLA, USC, Pepperdine, drove in the rain on 101 to Menlo Park, checked into a motel that Lori didn't like, and everyone was like, hey, we don't want to tour Stanford nor Berkeley. And I was like, look, I worked some favors to get one of these tours. That puts me in a hard spot, but they pushed back. So we said, look, I'll take us to a good breakfast Thursday. I'll drive us through Stanford. I'll drive us to Berkeley. We'll tour that walking, and then we'll grab a great lunch at a pizza place, and we'll hit the plane, go to
Get out.
Dallas.
Yeah, get out.
So we cut out 2 days.
There was a lot of issues going on. There's fires. We've had a lot in this span of time. You know, I just think in the last 6 months between hurricanes, East Coast, West Coast, a lot of natural issues. I don't know. We could get into the global warming conversation. It just feels like but it seems like that was also kind of an issue.
Like Malibu and Pepperdine was amazing.
Yeah.
Like across the street, just devastation.
Yeah, a mess.
It must have been scary as all get out to be there.
Total mess.
They were sheltered in place.
Yeah, I know. I talked to some of my friends, said it just was like you have mudslides and you got all kinds of stuff going on. So, and before we get on to kind of the show and tell and excited about our guests, I will tell you, just a tease to our guests, different drive-in song today. Changing it up every week based on the guests. Kind of fun. I'm like, when am I going to listen to?
Well, then this one has to be heavy metal.
No, that's a good fair choice. I know. Actually, this guy liked heavy metal. I know that.
I know.
I was listening to Center Field, you know, the famous John Fogerty baseball song, just a nod. So I don't know why I thought it seemed right this morning. So I listened to that this morning. And I had a trip to Europe. I just want to tell you, thank you for your recommendations to Paris. We checked in about that. My daughter is studying a semester in Barcelona. Wow, I want to come back as one of our kids. I mean, my daughter is having an experience of a lifetime for her few months over there. I could say a million things about my trip to Europe. People have asked. My one takeaway, you know, about myself in travel, because I know how much you like travel, is I want to do more of it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, while I love culture and museums, and I really do, I was most excited about the people, and it was really interesting to talk about to the people. I didn't get much time with what I would say contemporaries, but more of the working class, just using taxi cab, city officials, people that ran restaurants and bars. Some of the best, nicest people, really just every country had something special to offer. So I'm really excited to do again. Barcelona was a winner for me. I never visited there. And just so much to say. We'll talk about that later. But I encourage all of our listeners, if you haven't taken a trip or you've had something on your list, you're like, I'm going to do that later, do it now. Just a great trip. My wife did a fantastic job of really tight itinerary. You would be
seemed like it.
Lee Bennett. Lee Bennett, you could roll with her.
We're not itinerary types on travel.
I know I'm not either, but because of our short time, it really allowed us
to make the most of it.
Yeah. Okay, so show and tell. Did you bring anything?
I didn't bring.
Okay, it's okay.
I have something later for our guests, perhaps.
Yeah. Okay. I brought something. We'll just get into it. As we're recording this, right now is the beginning of the NCAA March Madness tournament.
Cool.
So I brought a bracket in.
Nice.
We're not going to talk about the bracket. I have several filled out. Got to tell you, I'm not real dialed out on college basketball.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are. You and I are big sports fans. I had not watched much of my beloved Texas Longhorns. I did see them lose last night.
Unbelievable.
Cheering for the loss.
Oh, yeah, we're like a top 10 team.
No. But we were a play-in team.
I know, but we're not a top 10 at some point.
At the beginning of the season, they started 11-2. But in the age of NIL, there's one guy on the team who's it's
no excuse for University of Texas.
I totally agree.
Not to be top 10.
I totally agree.
Every sport.
I'll sum it up like this, and then just tell you why I brought this in. Leading scorer, so freshman of the year, okay, Dallas area guy or metro area guy who went to one of those basketball factories. Mm-hmm. He's going to be a lottery pick in the draft. He's so freshman of the year, leading scorer in the SEC. If that's on your basketball team and you're not making the tournament outright,
how tall is he?
He is. He's a guard. I'm not
6'4"?
sure.
That's
yeah,
good.
Yeah. He's an exceptional talent, but it's unwatchable. And by the way, next year when I watch UT, it'll be 15 new guys, and the year after that, it'll be 15 new guys.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either.
Right.
I'm done. It's like, wow, why do I have to watch this? It's like it's with the money. I hope they fix it. But I brought the bracket in. Just thought I'd ask. It sounds like you haven't watched much basketball. This is like a holiday. Like people, I love to hear people say on like a lot of the radio shows, and I'm not listening to much radio, but people around, like it's known to be these 2 days are the most called in sick days.
Oh, wow.
Of the year for men. Did you know that?
I'm not a call-in sick guy.
Yeah, I know you're not.
I'm not going to hang around those types.
But you understand what they're doing. They're watching basketball from starting now about this time for the entire day. It goes to the West Coast till like midnight.
It's fun.
Yeah, back to back, and games are overlapping, and there's be some upsets.
We don't have Charles Barkley this year.
No Barkley.
Oh, it'd be tough.
No Barkley. And they had Jalen Rose on last night a little bit, which was interesting. He's not. Yeah.
No Barkley.
Yeah, no Barkley. So anyway, I just wanted to bring it in. I'm excited about watching some basketball over the weekend. I'm not going to miss golf for basketball. That should tell you where my priorities are. Neither are you.
I'll be skiing.
Where are you going?
Lek.
Yeah, you mentioned with your friends from
Europe. Yeah.
How's the weather there?
It looks like it's cold and rainy.
Cold and rainy.
Yeah.
Are you going? Really important question. Are you going to be packed with? Do you need me to get over and help you pack?
I've actually packed correct. I worked on it last night.
Okay, good. Yeah. I mean, we've had a few of these trips lately where you haven't been packed.
I think I'm accounted for.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
If later in the day you need me, I'll bail on a meeting and head over to your house and we can get you ready. I want you to be warm.
Thank you, Scott.
Would you like to be our guest?
Or is there someone you would like to see on the show?
DM us through social at Playground Foreground.
We look forward to hearing from you.
John, really excited about our guest today. I mentioned I was listening to Center Field, and this guy, who we've known for a long time, kind of a legend in some respects.
Black shoulder pads.
Yeah. With
like an orange underlay.
Yeah.
You didn't have black shoulder pads. You had a T-bar.
Yeah, I had a T-bar. I did not have anything that this guy had. And even before that, on our teams, our guest today is none other than Tyler Herbst. Welcome to the Playground, Tyler.
Wow, what an honor. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Really.
So, John, I was, over the years I'd kept up with Tyler. He'd done a good job. I mean, hadn't really seen you much since high school, Tyler. So for our guests that don't know you, obviously you're a childhood friend of ours on most of our teams. All the ones I was selected out at some certain point, but I was on your team. Do you remember me on your teams?
Well, and I can connect with this because in grade 7, I was that guy on the sideline. I had the Roger Staubach face mask, and
he also had the T though. He had the T.
I didn't have the T.
He had the T.
Yes. But
it's fine, Tyler. We
third
grade,
third team everything.
Really?
I was third team everything. Basketball. I did run track that year, but
were you on the Muddy Putty D?
I think they had me at cornerback. If that's a thing.
I remember that.
And then
actually.
maybe I was third team running back or something, and so I hadn't really hit any growth spurt, I think, at that point, but that came later.
Yeah.
So just, for everybody, and even a little for me, I mean, we've spent some time together. I know you and John have kept up. You've done a real good job over the years in your social media a little bit, so I could track you. Enjoyed that, by the way, with all the places you've been. And we mentioned in the episode, you have been a lot of places. But just a little about sort of post high school, what you've done in the world, where you've gone, kind of the choices you made. I'd love to hear about that.
Well, I guess the first major choice was choosing to go to Montana State in Bozeman, and playing football there. Going through that learning experience of the transition between kind of the culture of coaches and friends that we had at Pierce, and then to go to somewhere else where we didn't know anybody, and the coaches, they weren't having a lot of success at that time, and so it was culture shock as well. You're talking about cold weather and gear and things, and I wasn't equipped for that kind of thing. So made life hard, but transitioned back to Dallas, and then did a quick semester at Brookhaven, and then got into A&M. Finished up with A&M. My time that I was thinking about when you mentioned about going overseas and how your girls are getting a chance to go overseas and study abroad. I had that chance in Italy, and it really was a life-changing experience for me. So when I came back, I was thinking more of international work and international jobs and travel. So I'd looked into the Peace Corps, and I'd had a business degree and international minor, and had some Spanish. So I was looking for that. I went to the Dominican Republic and was there for about a year working for a small bank. I came back and was looking for big things here in America. I moved to Colorado, got in with some banks there, moved around a little bit, and then decided, hey, I needed some more schooling to be more competitive in all that I wanted to do. So I did my master's program in CU in Colorado Springs. And that really turned me on to teaching. That was kind of the first launching point in my own mind. And also this moment of studying kind of how I wanted and taking a lot more ownership of my own learning. And that really flipped a switch for me. So I'd actually applied for the University of Phoenix and was going to try to teach some business classes at the University of Phoenix. And then at the same time, my dad and I had been talking about opening a business here in Dallas. So I'd moved back and we tried to run a business. It didn't go well. We had 9/11 and other things that had happened. So at the same time, I had reconnected with you guys, also with John Livingston, our buddy, and Coach Bob Duvall, and some others, and had heard the encouragement really of getting into teaching and coaching, and how they thought that I might be a real good fit for that, and they were right. So you're coaching and teaching now. Where and what are you doing? Right now I'm in Carrollton, Carrollton Farmers Branch at R.L. Turner High School. I'm the assistant baseball coach there, and I'm also teaching mathematics, honors geometry, and algebra 2 currently.
What's important about geometry?
Back in the day, all of the problems were solved with geometry. 2,000 years ago, before the invention or creation of calculus, all the world's problems were solved with geometry. So Euclid and Archimedes and those guys, they used those theories and those tenets to understand how things worked, and through construction and any kind of problem that they tried to have, they solved it with geometry. Another point that I wanted to say was, and I say it to all the kids all the time, is that geometry and mathematics is about logic thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And if we can develop this ability to go through those problems in a systematic sort of way and build in that, okay, what do I know? What can I do from my toolbox? What can I choose? What's given to me, and then take the right path. So those are some things that we're hoping for.
How did you do in geometry? I mean, we took it. You took it, right?
I had Bogart. Just it wasn't a great.
Yeah,
it wasn't a great
rough.
Honestly, I
Did you have Bogart too?
I don't know who I had. I just know I wanted out. I wanted out of it.
For me, honestly, maybe no one will believe me, but for some reason, when I got to high school, I was pedal to the metal. I thought, this is it. I'm gonna shake off a junior high. I'm gonna shake off Westwood, and I'm gonna come forth, and I'm really gonna try hard. And I did. And I went home and I wrote down all the postulates and all the theorems on my index cards, and I memorized them all. And that was a real launching point for me. And I really did well in that. And then that really set me up good for Algebra 2 next year after that. And I took some trig after that. So.
Love your answer, and I wanted to be clear. I wasn't diminishing geometry. I just thought I could tell you'd have an interesting answer to why it was important, and I appreciated how you said that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tyler, in the world, I think even for John and I, and in the greater world, AI is the buzzword right now.
It is.
Probably it was like .com, right?
Yeah.
There's a waterfall. There's going to be some players and non-players, but it is not going away. I've seen it in the business world, like how it's changing my company. Just curious, how are you addressing that as it relates to what you're teaching, and what do you see? How is that playing a role in what you might be teaching, and or how will it drive what they learn towards it?
Well, honestly, I might be a bit of a dinosaur in this because I'm resistant at this point to change the way I prepare for class. I'm not looking for AI to make any lesson plans for me. I'm not looking for a computer to tell me what to do or how to do it. I've been teaching a very long time now, almost 23 years, all over the world, in Colorado and Texas. And it starts with the communication and relationship with the students. And no computer is going to be able to simulate that or duplicate that. So honestly, the lesson plan might even be secondary to how's the culture in the classroom. And if you don't have that, and if they don't respect you and see that you're authentic and you're there for them, just like you're saying, you don't take days off. And I'm of that college that, no, man,
we're here to work.
Suit up and get to work. So I believe that they trust me in that, and I appreciate that.
What about screen use in terms of like giving your kids a Google Chromebook or a...
We do with the Chromebook.
Why?
I do have a digital. Well, we have resources, right? And so our curriculum now is very much driven through a calculator. And so we use Desmos calculator, and the Desmos calculator now is showing up in all of the standardized tests. We do a MAP test, they call it measure of academic progress. The SAT uses Desmos. I believe ACT also uses Desmos. So we've moved away from the handheld TI-84s, which, I don't know how deep you want to go into that, but the idea that you certainly have to dedicate classroom time to teach these kids how to use a calculator. And so what do you want to teach them? You want to teach them how to use a calculator or how to think? Or so, when I was overseas, I was teaching IB, International Baccalaureate program. And you have to budget some time for calculator work. So it's becoming more and more. And just to finish with that, I think I'm
cool with the calculator. I mean, the calculator is helping you do the calculations.
Certainly it is. Certainly it is. But what I was trying to say at the end of that was that we've moved away from really seeing students' logic on paper and their steps. And so it's sort of lost in a lot of multiple choice tests.
It was a non-starter when we were growing up. I mean, you had to show your work.
Yeah.
That's how I was. That's in my head. Again, show your work. I said, I have the answers. And they're like, no. And you can figure it out. Sometimes you could backwards figure it out. I don't know. And I wasn't very good at math. So this is making me get goosebumps.
It comes through in your writing over text.
I know.
It's interesting. Like you explained, hey, if you're getting good at math, you're learning a way to like think systematically.
That's right.
That also impacts your writing, I believe.
Absolutely.
Well,
and I wish I was better at math. I wish I'd taken math more seriously for the reasons you're articulating, because I'm an excellent writer. But if I also was a killer at math.
It's problem solving. It's like puzzles. Some people really like that kind of thing, and they really gravitate towards it.
I want to go back to something.
Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, I had a Rubik's Cube.
Could you do it?
You mean finish it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
How fast?
I don't remember.
Can you? I can't do it at all.
I remember when my brother and I first got the Rubik's Cube, and we went quickly to popping it, and then
Yeah, I know.
Is that math? Is that math?
Well, certainly it's stick-to-itiveness, it's problem solving, it's patterns, right? That's mathematics is patterns.
Yeah. I got one for Hanukkah, and I got the other weird. Remember the other ones? Like there was a triangle one.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was called.
pyramid.
I want to go back to something you said because I'd like to. It really resonates with me, which is in the business world. Quite frankly, Tyler, it's much more the success of a company, in my estimation, has less to do with the day-to-day tactical execution of the thing and more about the culture of the people that you're getting. And you mentioned that it's secondary. The lesson plan is secondary than to the environment you're creating for learning within it. And I suspect as I'm hearing you talk, I don't know this. I'd like to meet some of your students. I bet they love you. I know you're not going to say that because I know who you are, but I bet they see how bought in you are to what you're doing. Do they see that? Do you sense they see that?
Well, I'll put it this way. When I ask them to heads up, let me see your eyes, and they do, that's a thing, right? A bunch of teenage kids, you're like, hey, heads up, and then boom. Or, hey, let's get all put away and let's get started. And then they do. Or they come in and they've already got their notebook out and they're looking like they're ready for class and they got their supplies and et cetera, and it's cool. So in that way.
So
on culture, I want to tell y'all the greatest business success I know, who is our age, this is his quote, not my quote, says that culture is when I tell you to walk north and you walk south and I shoot you in the back of the blanking head.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not necessarily that's okay. But
I know it's just another viewpoint.
Yeah. I mean, there are multiple ways to get there, right? Like
what do you think about that?
Oh, well, of course. I think how I would respond to that is if someone starts walking south, somehow outsmart them in the way to get them to come back around. And if you try to outsmart them or work with them or walk with them south a little bit, and then somehow, in school, I started in middle school, right? And middle school is certainly different than high school, but in middle school, it'd be more like, not necessarily put your arm around them, but in that way, corral them and guide them to where they need to be. Not so hardcore. And baseball too, like you could yell and scream a little bit more on the field. Like I've coached all kinds of sports and certainly I've blasted away, but not in a violent, threatening, I'm gonna this or that or something, but it's more like, hey, what are you doing? Let's go.
What's your favorite play in baseball?
6-4-3.
Yeah,
6-4-3 double play.
Yeah.
Is that shortstop?
Yeah.
Second,
That's shortstop, and then flip to second base, then first base.
My favorite play, it's funny, I mentioned, I really think the proper execution of a bunt is important.
Sacrifice or for a hit?
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Because they have a different purpose.
Yeah.
If you're bunting to hit, because you can outspeed. You're using speed as the weapon. The sacrifice is a strategic move. You need that run at that time of the game. And I think it's really one of the most strategic things in a game, and not everybody's good at it. It's kind of a lost art being good at it.
This is what I learned in Japan, and one of the reasons why in Japanese culture was so fond of baseball was this idea of self-sacrifice and teamwork and execution. So if you watch Japanese baseball, I have some favorite Japanese teams. We used to go to the Oryx Buffalo games, and Ichiro used to play for the Buffaloes way back when. So anyway, I'm a big Ichiro fan.
My favorite play though is the right fielder trying to throw the runner out at third base. I just love the angle. No matter where you are in the stadium, the angle of that play, the guy's rounding second, like you got the umpire, the third baseman, the throws coming in hard. That's a great play.
And seldom do they capture that accurately enough in the live broadcast, right? So usually it's
you don't see the whole.
It's replay, right? And it's the panned out of.
But that's what's great about being a fan is that you get to see it unfold in the stadium. Yes,
that's an in-stadium play. And
totally.
It's a very. By the way, it's really hard, right? That's a physical to throw the ball that far.
Yeah.
I mean, to make.
The accuracy
has
something you can't believe.
Yeah,
right?
with a human, like versus a gun or some other thing where you might have a scope and whatever. Like this guy's got to eye it with his eye and then have the physical gift to get it.
Throw it at full force out in the open, right? There's wind or whoever else.
How far is he throwing it?
Well, how far is it? It's further than
geometry.
Yeah, let's see. Well, how far is it from the home base to second base, right? They get their Pythagorean theorem going.
90 feet.
No.
Oh,
God.
It's not.
Oh, no. I think it's 120.
No, 90 feet is from, no, 90 feet is, no, 90 feet is what.
90, and then the diagonal, right?
Right,
so
the
the
diagonal.
diagonal.
Yeah, the
So,
diagonal, right.
so it's got to be side squared and side squared.
120?
About that.
So
No, not exactly.
Well,
Oh, man.
you're going right.
Get your calculator going, John.
Right. Are you surprised? I mean, you're sitting here with us, and John and I had this wild idea a few years before really anybody was doing podcasts, and it took a heart transplant. But you've been overseas, you hadn't seen us, and I know you said you watched a lot of episodes. Are you surprised by the relationship? And of course, we feel that way about you. Just curious what that's about.
I think coming back to America and Dallas in particular opens up a lot of history for me and past friendships. And when my wife and I were thinking about moving back, we thought, well, where would we like to live in the city? And we purposely moved to Carrollton because there's a Korean town there. My wife's from Hong Kong. So we specifically chose that. Another reason why we didn't move back to Richardson or Plano or something for me, my own sort of brain was, there's too much history. And then I'd always be thinking about, I remember in high school I was there, or remember in elementary school I was there. So for me, it's been another step forward instead of feeling like I had a step back. And when I moved back in 2001, it felt like a step back a little bit because I was living back at home with mom and dad at 7616, and maybe that kind of tainted my whole experience there. But to get to play golf with you guys a couple of years ago was a big deal. And then
But you were like lying down at one point with the old heart.
Well, it wasn't the heart, my back.
But it was the old heart, though.
Yeah,
he was hurting.
It wasn't really the heart. My back.
I don't know what it was. You were lying down and you had your old heart.
You don't, right? Yeah, I was definitely struggling, but I wasn't gonna miss it. And I had the same experience. Even though I did not feel my physical body felt terrible, my being with you, and obviously Brickert, and I have maintained a very close friendship. It's unusual for people of our place and time, men especially. We've gone on, kind of like you said, you move on, you've done it, you've gone and traveled. To come back to this place, and I moved, but I lived in my neighborhood for a long time. So it's interesting you mentioned that. But what I celebrate is where we grew up, what we had. John and I talk about the kinds of guys and women who are doing amazing things in the world. I talk to a lot of them as a result of my life. I mean, we could have a room full of people who are pretty interesting with what they've done, what they've been through, both great things and things that are traumatic. Yeah. It's pretty awesome, right? And to see what you're doing for the world, I'm just so proud of you, you know? And
that's very kind. And I want to piggyback on what you said about the people that I didn't surround myself with. My parents and their friendships surrounded me, and I benefited from those relationships. And at our church, we had what they call a mini church. And so maybe once a month, they would all get together, and then we'd have all these families coming over maybe to our house, or the mom and dad go to someone else's house. And so I got to buddy up with all these adults, and these adults were all movers and shakers, and they were all very successful people and very kind to me at all times. And, what can you say? You've got not only your folks there, but then you've got these people that turn out to be sort of like aunts and uncles to you, and you see them at church every week and chat them up a little bit, and they're happy to see you when they see you again, and they come to your games or whatever. So I'm certainly on the shoulders of those people.
John and I talk a lot. John has done a lot of travel. I'm not envious. I just want to try to match him at times to be able to go some places, especially at this stage of my life, given everything. You have done extensive travel. I'm just curious, talk a little bit about that. I could ask 1,000 questions about all your travels because I watched where you were going. I'm like, look where you. It's like you were like Carmen Sandiego. Yeah, I mean, you were literally you were in this country and that country. Like, how do you sum that entire experience up for you?
Well, my summary is more of like a traveling circus, and it was for a long time. It felt like that, and I started getting into or thinking about moving overseas when I was in Colorado, and I'd mentioned earlier about my master's in business and then in an international business kind of idea. And so I had investigated teaching for the DoD schools overseas and for those military bases the more I talk about teaching overseas, the more I realize that people have no idea that in every country around the world, of course, we have embassies all over the planet, and there's people all over the planet hoping and dreaming that their kids can speak English and they can learn in English. So there's these schools all over the place, and they're desperate for people. Probably that's why they chose me, because they were desperate. But to come over and to teach. So the DoD didn't work out for me. The application was a mile long, and I was thinking, oh, that's a little bit too intimidating. So some friends and I, we went to a job fair in Iowa. And there's a whole big story about why there's this job fair in Iowa. It was at the University of Northern Iowa. And anyway, there's schools from all over the planet. So this was 2005?
Yeah.
February 2005. And coming away, I had offers from Mexico and Kuwait and Japan and all over the place. And to get to be able to pick and choose kind of where you want to go. And I was just so excited to get an invitation to interview with Japan. And so I moved to Kobe, and the rest of that is a little bit more like inside baseball and more like just life, right? Like you get to a place and then you realize, well, okay, now it's real work. And it kind of feels like Disneyland a little bit, because you're trying to enjoy the tourist part, but you're also there on business, and you better, do it well. They wanted me to teach more English. I wanted to teach more mathematics. And so then the dream has to end, right? And then you got to figure out a new place to go. So luckily I found a place in Moscow. Sadly, the school is closed since the invasion of Ukraine. And a lot of our friends around the world are feeling at a loss, because that was a really special school. And there's a big, long history about that school dating back to the Soviet times, where the Soviets banned foreigners from going to their schools. And so the families, so the embassies got together, the Canadian and the UK and American embassies got together, and they made their own school. So that was in about 48. And then after that, worked my way to Hong Kong, and I met my wife, Leslie, there in Hong Kong. But then, life happens again. And then you can't stay in Hong Kong because you don't have a visa to stay. And the school says either you're there or not there. And they don't have laws about your contract. They can just cut you when they're ready to cut you. They don't have to re-sign you. It's just like a year-long contract, or maybe if you're lucky, you can sign on for 2 years. So I moved to the Philippines. Then I was lucky enough to get to go to Ghana, and I spent 2 years in West Africa. That was a really beautiful time. Then I was lucky to move back to Hong Kong. I had decided, okay, come on, Leslie, this is it. Let's do this. So moved back to Hong Kong. We got married. And then almost immediately after getting married, the school says, oh, by the way, sorry, we can't hire you, but for only 25% maybe. And I'm thinking, what? So through contacts I had built up over a lifetime of work overseas, we moved to Qatar, and we moved to Doha. We had 5 really good years in Doha. We saw the stadiums be built, and they're getting ready for the World Cup. So we had a good time there.
I mean, I'm listening to this and thinking to myself, wow, am I lame? Right?
No.
Like, I mean, you have been.
Well,
I mean,
but it's not just what
it's not what I want to do.
It's not just where that you've traveled so much, right? Like anybody can get a passport.
Yeah.
Like, bless my dad, but the idea when I talk to my dad about things that he's gone or seen, his canned response is, I've been there, done that. And I kind of feel like when I think about places I've seen, especially my most favorite places, I want to go again and again and again. I've been to Chamonix 4 or 5 times.
Ski?
And summertime too. I play golf and bike around. Or Thailand, been to Thailand quite a few times, and been to this very special elephant sanctuary up in Chiang Mai quite a few times, so maybe 5 times.
No, I like that, but I don't want to be moving around 3 or 4 years at a time.
Oh, no, I agree. I
like, hey, I've been here for 49 to 53 years, and I really have deep connectivity.
Yeah.
I value that.
It is a bit of a hobo's life.
Yeah, that part of it is hard for me. I don't think I could. I don't think as a person I could do that. But just the idea that I know somebody who's sailing around the world. They basically sold everything and they're sailing around. They built a boat.
This is it.
I mean, if you're coaching college basketball or if you're coaching like at the high levels, you probably have a life that's moving you around a lot.
Yes.
Moving around,
in the United States, but still, that's also a life to me that looks real challenging.
And I wonder, are you going to get to see the things? Because I think teaching, has you don't bring it on the weekends. I mean, you have a lesson plan, so by no means are you mailing it in, like you said. But it felt like you had time to go do these other things, these things that were for Tyler, right?
Well, you do them when you have time, right? You do them in time off, right?
Yeah.
You're there during school year, of course. You're super locked in. These international schools, they love people that will give themselves to the school, and they're coaching all the sports, they're sponsoring all the clubs, they're there all the time, they're there on the weekends, they take the kids off to field trips, and that's priceless for those kinds of schools because they're desperate for people like that.
To learn more about John's candidacy for HPISD Board of Trustees and what he stands for, check out his website, alt4hpisd.com. And he's also on Instagram at alt4hpisd.
All right, so Tyler, before we get to my favorite part, topics from the hat, you've been an educator across the world. Our buddy John here is running for school board, which, wow, hammer down. You got to give him one piece of advice from what you've seen around the world that will help him in the event that he is successful in his attempt to serve. What would you tell him as a board advisor, like, hey, do this?
I was thinking about what I might say or may not say. One of the things that hits me and hits our department, I think, and hits teachers in particular, is the challenge between admin usually and the teachers. And sometimes there is a bit of a power struggle there in who's supposed to be doing what. And lots of times the teachers kind of feel like, hey, come on, like, you're going to make me be the bad guy all the time. Like, what is this? So what I'm referencing is the constant challenge with cell phones in the classroom and the problem that it creates and the distraction that it creates and the behaviors that it creates in terms of bullying each other, fights in the bathroom, people trying to grandstand, instead of helping each other, everybody whips out their phone and they're ready to film instead of help out, break things up or things like that. And then takes away from teaching time and concentration. And then I'm the bad guy. And then
what is smart cell phone policy?
I've seen it done a couple different ways. I suppose if I had to choose my own way, it would be as they come in the building, there's somewhere for them to stick their phone in, whether it's a little cubby or what it is. But when they check into school, they put their phone away. They don't see it until they leave school. That's what I'd like to see.
Why do we not do that?
Willpower.
By who?
Maybe everyone. It's going to be a knockdown, drag out fight of rights and stamina. And there are a lot of people that want to do what they want to do and they don't want to be told. And then when they're told, they're not ready to acquiesce and just daring for a fight, So that's one thing. The topic of, well, what if I need to get in touch with my kids? Well, schools have been around for a very long time. There's a thing called the telephone. You can call school. So as teachers,
there was no getting hold of me in '84. I'd see them back probably around 6 p.m.
All right.
Well,
plus or minus 30 minutes.
I never had my parents need to call me. I don't know. I mean, the times when my phone rings for my classroom, it's parents coming to pick them up for who knows what. But I don't know what to say other than, there's a way to get a hold and they don't need to be texting each other.
I completely agree. And the only time I really needed to talk to my mom is if the one or two times I was sick or I forgot my lunch, which was very important, Tyler. I needed to make sure. So besides that,
if you forget your lunch, you should deal with it.
That's why you weren't my mom, John. That's why. But yeah, no, I mean, no, but I agree with you. I think it's important, and I think we should continue to encourage John and let John be a model for others. I think this is a really tough topic, but I am so empathetic for teachers today. It's made the job immensely harder to do exactly what you said, which is create the right kind of culture for learning. With that, Tyler, welcome to Topics from the Hat.
All right, topics.
Topics from the Hat, written in here by various people at this table. We will let our guests pick first because we're good people. Tyler,
That's
go ahead.
kind. Way to go. Kindness. You guys were taught well.
Right.
All right. Of course, Coach Matthews.
Oh,
Coach Matthews, yes.
You were a favorite of Coach Matthews. It appeared to us.
For a short amount of time. Until when, I'm not sure exactly what I did.
How do we explain to Coach Matthews, to the audience, who's Coach Matthews
Yeah,
is?
describe.
Quickly.
Coach Matthews. So Coach Matthews is the man in black. The man in black. So this might personify him.
In junior high.
In junior high. So after a loss, right, he would grandstand and come to practice on a Friday dressed in black, and we knew we were about to get it.
right.
He was a guy, okay, a little bit of inside baseball for me and Coach Matthews is that my brother and he locked horns.
Right.
And I'm not exactly sure why Coach Matthews chose to show me any kind of favoritism or something when I was in grade 9, but there seemed to come a point where then I ran afoul of him. And so then what he had bestowed upon me was quickly retracted. And then I found myself just on the offensive side versus playing defense and offense again. So I don't know if it was an injury or if it was or what, but I had gotten my first concussion in I believe grade 8, and then I think I'd had maybe one more in high school, and I had a couple in college, and that was one of the reasons why I knew it was time to leave that. But
It's interesting that you bring him up. I think he's come up before, and he came up with some other people in our, from our time. Like, for all that we might say, like you definitely knew who was in charge, right? And he left a mark. We're talking about him. So what is it?
But he wasn't a force for good.
No doubt.
No,
he did not. I was not his guy.
And I want to say, I don't know for what reason, but I feel like this is one of the good reasons why I want to be a coach. And my philosophy in coaching is not to scream and yell, and not that he cursed anybody, but being a coach for a long time, I have run into these people who F-bombs and GDs and JCs and all that sort of stuff. And coming from Texas, those are curse words as well. So anyway, that's a point for me of real pride that I felt like that was a mission that I could take on.
All right, John.
Coach Matthews.
Yeah, he wasn't touching it.
No?
Asian cuisine,
huh?
We've connected about this. I've been very excited and haven't done it. So this podcast will be that. We've talked about it when you came and visited me. We took a walk about just, you've had it. I told you I love it. Just feelings about it. I mean, it wasn't something we probably had a lot of, but you have now.
Certainly not. And seafood growing up was fish sticks and hush puppies, I guess, from Long John Silver's way back when. I was introduced to a thing called okonomiyaki in Japan, in Kobe. And okonomiyaki is sort of like cabbage, and it's kind of a cabbage pancake.
Yeah.
And you can infuse it with some protein or whatever else you want to put in there. But there's a new place in Carrollton opened up. I think it's called Hiroshima. And they're serving okonomiyakis over there. So come on over.
It's called what?
The dish itself.
No, what's the restaurant called?
I think it's called Hiroshima. Or Hiroshima.
Really?
Yeah.
But you talked about it with me. You like it all. I mean, your wife is from Hong Kong, right?
Yep.
You eat a lot of Asian food now. You guys, I see pictures that you eat a lot of Asian food.
Certainly.
I'm looking forward, and I don't think John's going to join us. I don't think John. Do you like any Asian cuisine?
I just want to be clear. Is Asian food an appropriate term?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's
So about 10 or 15 years ago, I think the idea of Oriental, you talk about rugs or something with Oriental. So then it was a shift to sort of Asian kind of.
Because there's Asian fusion, right? It's all
kind of there's Southeast Asian, right? There's Western Asian, the Middle East. Of course, that's Asia.
Do you eat any Asian food? Do you like it?
Yes, I love it.
You do?
I like spicy Thai food.
Yeah.
Love it.
Actually, I had Thai food with you.
Oh yeah, we did.
had
That's
Thai
why
food.
you got pulled over by the 5-0.
I did. I was running in Richardson, Tyler, and got pulled over in front of John. It was for another time, but yeah, we were at Noodle Wave. Yeah, Noodle
that's
Wave.
good.
All right, well, Tyler, we're gonna do that. Okay.
Well, Tu Thai is our favorite place over in Koreatown.
I'm coming, Tyler.
Come on over.
I'm not pretending anymore. It's happening. Leslie, you and I.
I'll believe it when we see it.
Intensity. Seems like I'm the right guy to get it. What do you got to say about intensity?
I love intensity.
It's the eye of the tiger.
You're intense.
Gotta be.
Why?
Gotta be. It's sort of like if you let in teaching, if you let your guard down for even a moment, disaster is waiting. If you, in all the senses, right? Like if you were on a field trip and you take your mind off it and make a mistake, there can be some very serious repercussions. Or if you're in the classroom and there's a test going on and you turn your back on something and then you're working on something instead of watching your class, of course, then all your results are meaningless. So standardized testing, same thing. Like the teachers are schooled in,
Right.
they're there to proctor the test. They are there to stare and they're looking for watches and they're looking for anybody trying to do something weird. That takes real energy and real intensity, and not everybody's ready for that.
My general comment about intensity is, I think in my own way, right, it can have a lot of meanings. I mean, you can be an intense character and be very intimidating, but intensity, I think at times is it can be a feeling, and I like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be a bad feeling, but I think, you can experience something to another level. And I think sometimes people say that's intense, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. I think of it in that context, but never really thought about it in the way that you do. And how do you think about it in your own life? How does it shape you?
Just mindset, just approach.
Yeah,
It's like,
full
hey, man,
on.
I mean, I know I overdo it, but I kind of enjoy overdoing it. I grew up in a house where it was way overdone.
Yeah.
That's just the way my family is. Even my dad's brothers,
Yeah.
or one of them, is way too intense. But but we love it.
Yeah.
We laugh at it. We celebrate it.
It can be a character, kind of a caricature, right?
Yeah.
I can be the coach guy and I can be full on. And even in the classroom, I don't usually get my coach voice on in the classroom, but certainly I can pull it and I can pull it out and try it and use it to my advantage. But
I want to bring some intensity to the school board.
I think you will.
Seriously,
Yeah, you should.
Lean in. Let's go.
You should. And I'm pretty excited. I suspect if the school board goes well, I'm manifesting out that you're going to do that, where I'm going to enjoy watching it and do whatever I can from where I sit to just sort of give you ideas. I think we can lean on Tyler, Livingston. We have a lot of friends, people that can come around and give you ideas from other places that you can bring. You're sitting in a seat with others, so you're going to be on a board. But I think you're going to do awesome at it. So I'm putting that out there in the universe.
yeah.
Tyler, I got to say to you before we wrap this up, I know your dad recently passed. So I told you, and I think John and I have a memory or two about your dad. I saw a picture. I think there's about to be a celebration for your dad. I noticed that. And all of our parents, regardless, I mean, I don't know if you remember my parents. They weren't as involved as I remember being with John's parents. We grew up in a special time. Parents had a lot. You've mentioned several times in this podcast the profound impact that your conversations with your dad, including doing a business. So I'm just curious, today, as I ask you this, how does it make you feel thinking about, because what I can say this to him out in the ether, what a great job. Well done. Job well done to your dad.
Well, yesterday we went to Dallas-Fort Worth National Cemetery and we had a service for him and he's interred there. And I still have those feelings and moments on my heart and mind. Tough to see a person who you were trying to emulate the idea that he was never a day off guy. Right. I never knew him to be a day off guy. He had his own business for over 15 years. And then he was a realtor and business broker and hustler, a hard worker guy. So to try to emulate that, but also to see him sort of whittled down and devastated by Alzheimer's and towards the end of his days, that's emotionally, talk about intense, right? And I think a lot of families our age, a lot of our friends are going through the same thing, and I've been fully supported and fully uplifted by all of our friends from around the world. Thank God, around the world, with kindness and encouragement, because Lord knows it is daunting to have to navigate all those things, the hospitals and the care homes and the in-home care and the out-of-home care and legal fees or hospital fees, or I've never done that before. And I know coming home, that was sort of the goal, to be close to mom and dad, to be able to support them in that. But talk about a test.
Is this the hardest age yet? 53, 50s.
In my estimation, it always feels like the further you go, the more complexity there is. And I don't suppose that maybe until retirement or something, but we're in our prime time now of work and earnings and career and things like that. It's only getting more complicated as far as I can tell.
I think it's the hardest. But I also think you're the most equipped. Like, you've got the most experience, you have the most training. Like, you should know how to handle this. But like, the things that come at you, man, it's hard.
Support system.
I couldn't agree more. I lost both my parents younger, but I would just say, the forces outside of the world. I mean, in some ways, right, technology and things have made some of the stuff you talk about easier, right? Access and things like that. But on a totally different level, this is referred to as a sandwich period, right? You're between, potentially, a lot of us, our own children and our aging parents, and the complexities that go with that. So, man, I'm just giving you a hug, giving your family a hug. Lots of memories as boys, and look at the guys that we are. I mean, this is pretty great to be with you. Cannot tell you how happy. I knew that you were going to be on at some point, because, like you said, we could talk for hours, and we will. And John, we'll call John from the Asian restaurants that we go to. But
sipping a bubble tea.
I didn't say I didn't want to go. I just want to make sure that we were good on the term.
Yeah, well, right. Well, and we'll figure out the menu together. We'll have Leslie guide us. But Tyler, thanks for joining us on the playground. All good things. I'm going to be out to see a game before. We got a couple weeks left, right?
Certainly, all the way till January. No, what am I talking about? April 25th is our last game.
All right, I'm going to be at a game. I'm going to come. I'm going to be like, who's that weird guy cheering for the coach? But I'm going to be that guy. So
much appreciated, and you guys have been a force for good for a very long time, and it was a special crew. I know you've talked about this with other guests that you've had. I've watched your other guests, and there's so much good happening, and appreciate you guys developing it and bringing it out and sharing it with everybody. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.